All right, my favorite make along of the year. Let's jump into Sock Week 2025. Hello, my name is Emily Crow from the Cozy Crow, and welcome to my YouTube channel. And if you are new here, I love knitting socks. And I love knitting a lot of things. I like to crochet too. I like to read. And while you'll see all of those other things on my channel, I think the thing I like to do the most is knitting socks. I actually learned how to knit socks about 4 years ago in preparation for Sock Week that year. It was the final push that I needed to finally learn how to knit socks. So I knit my first pair of socks before Sock Week, and I worked on my second pair of socks during that year's Sock Week. I've participated every single year, and this year, while I didn't think too much ahead of time on what I wanted to do, I'm really excited to be able to participate, and I may be able to finish a full pair of socks this week. We'll see what happens. Not to try and confuse anyone, but I was not able to film this intro before I cast it on my project. So I actually already have my project today, and I'm going to share it with you. But the reason that happened was because I worked nights this weekend, and I didn't get a chance to film this before I went off to work Saturday night. So I was able to actually cast on Sunday at midnight, which was so fun. I finished my cuff while I was on shift because my patients were sleeping and were well. I didn't have too much to do for them. And I was able to start on my main color for the leg of the sock as well after I had gotten home on Sunday, taken my nap, woken up, and gotten to spend a little bit of time with my family. So here we are on day 2 on Monday, and here's what my sock looks like. So I've done a few repeats of my sock. I am working on the Seasons Socks by Summer Lee. I've had this pattern for a while. I've been meaning to make it for a while, and I just haven't gotten around to it. So I was thinking about maybe doing a vanilla sock, but I have a lot of projects right now that are garter stitch or stockinette stitch heavy. So I thought I would do something a little different with some texture that is kind of like waffle stitch like. So it feels like it fits with the ice cream theme for this week's Sock Week. So the yarn I am using Lovejoy, which is a local to me dyer. And this main color is so pretty. These like rosy pink and orange and like a sunset yellow type of color all mixed together. This color is called Waffle Cone, which is again perfect for the ice cream theme. I'm using a 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon base. And then the minis, this mini on top, so pretty, kind of that like dusty rose, almost an orange type of color. It is also from this same dyer, and the colorway is called Bunny. And then I'm going to use this really fun yellow mini, and the colorway for this is called Poppy. I picked out these yarns last year at the Utah Yarn Crawl, or was it 2 years ago? Anyway, I bought them from Harmony in Provo, which is the yarn store most local to me. And I actually saw this waffle cone colorway at the yarn crawl again this year. And so it reminded me, I have this beautiful color at home. I can knit this soon. We are casted on, and we are gonna put in a few more minutes of stitches on this. I don't necessarily have a goal for this Sock Week, but I don't work again until Friday night, so I have a few days that I can get some serious knitting in, and it would be really nice to be able to finish a full pair of socks during this week. I've done it before. I think I knit 3 or 3.5 socks during Sock Week a couple years ago, but with my schedule, it just is kind of variable. So I'm gonna keep working on this. I have an idea of how long my sock is gonna be. I'm just gonna do my traditional like ankle boot length sock. And so I have a 20 round cuff. I'm gonna probably do 30 to 40 round leg, and then I'll start working on the heel of the sock. This texture is just so squishy. I'm so excited to see how it works up. I am working some slip stitches in this pattern, which means that the height of each round is less than it normally is, and so it'll probably take me a little longer than I'm used to knitting on the leg, but that's okay because like I said, I've got plenty of time, and I really just want to finish one sock so I can have an entry into the completion form for all finished socks. Cue the montage for moving into day 2. Hey y'all, I'm pleased to announce that I finished the leg last night. I am so happy. I ended up doing, 15 repeats, which is 60 rows, and it's only this long because, like I said, the height of the rows are squinched. Is that a word? Squinched? Because of the slip stitches in the pattern. So it definitely shortened it up a bit, but I like the length now, and it's time to start on the heel. I think my goal today is to do the heel. I'll do a heel flap and gusset style. So I'm gonna do the entire heel and the gusset, hopefully. And then maybe tomorrow can be the foot and maybe start on the toe. Because like I said, I'd love to get through 2 full socks to just knock this pair out of the park this week. But we'll see kind of what happens. But yeah, that's my goal. So I need to get ready to join in my yellowy color, the poppy mini skein that I bought to go with this yarn, so that we can see that all worked up.
How about I be like this?
You can be like that if you want.
Mommy,
Yeah.
we both kind of do turns.
Do you want to do some filming? Do you want to make a video? Okay. When I'm done with this video, you can have a turn.
Okay.
Heel, turn, and flap done. Hello. It is actually Friday. I did not film very much the past few days. I just have been doing other things. And yesterday I didn't really work on this pattern anyway. I went on a really nice hike, about 6 miles up in the mountains, and it was much needed. I had so much fun with a friend of mine, and I'll pop up a couple pictures so you can kind of see the meadows were beautiful. It's in the Albion Base area. I think it's Little Cottonwood Canyon in Utah. Anyway, I had a lot of fun. But then after that, I just kind of relaxed, and I worked a ton on my gnome for this month. So this is my July gnome. I knit almost the entire hat yesterday afternoon instead of working on my sock. And then in the evening, I worked a ton on knitting the body. So it's blocking right now. It's still a little bit damp, but I did get in some knitting time. So let me show you how my sock is coming along. I was really hoping to get the pair done this week, and that's still totally a possibility. It just hasn't been a priority. And I feel like I have a lot of moving pieces that I'm juggling between family stuff and things on my calendar to take care of, and different projects with different timelines and stuff. And so if I only get one sock done this week, that's still fine. I would love to still cast on the second sock and work on hopefully finishing it if I end up having the time, because I don't want to have a lingering second sock. But I would say probably halfway through the straight on foot portion. Ta-da! You can see the scrunch of the top stitches where that texture is compared to the lack of scrunch on the bottom where it's just stockinette. If this was just a stockinette sock, I would have totally been done by now, because it's so much more mindless, easy to pick up and put down. I wouldn't have had to do quite as many rounds so far. So I can't remember how many rounds I've done so far on the foot, but typically after the gusset, I knit like 40, 45 rounds, usually. Kind of depends on my gauge and the yarn. So far, past the gusset, I have done 32 or 34 rounds, and I still have probably another 1.5 inches to go, if not closer to 2 inches. So I've got a ways. This is definitely taking up more time, but I have a little bit of time before I'm gonna take a nap before my night shift. So I'm gonna sit down and get a few more rounds in while watching some YouTube or listening to a book. I'm quite not sure. I'm listening to 1984 by George Orwell. I read it in high school and I loved it, and I've been trying to read classics. And since it's been long enough time, like half my life basically, I figured it'd be really good to revisit. So I'm enjoying that, but I did take a break to catch up on some YouTube videos. I might switch back and forth, kind of depends. I've got about half an hour before I want to get down for my nap before I have my night shift tonight. So let's see how much I can get done. And then if I bring this on my night shift, I can get a lot of knitting done, because I powered through my gnome. Really, all I have to do, because this morning I did all the other little pieces, like the beard and the nose and the arms and whatnot. So all I have to do is stuff it and close up the bottom and then attach the pieces. So I feel a lot better about my July gnome, because I hadn't started it 2 days ago, and so I was kind of nervous that I would run out of time to do it. I'm trying to participate in Sarah Shira's Year of Gnomes knit along, so knitting a different gnome pattern of hers every single month. And so this is, ooh, I think it's called Nicole from her book. I wanted to do the cabled design. You can see I used a bunch of different red scraps and I did some fading, but you can still see kind of where the demarcation lines are, which is not my favorite, but it is what it is. And I'm definitely not taking back this hat because this took forever and was a little bit fiddly, but I wanted to do kind of like a Christmas theme for Christmas in July. And of course I ran out of red yarn, so I can't make a Santa gnome, but I made a Santa hat, and this is Christmas yarn, so it'll still be really cute. Big tangent. I feel a lot better about my July gnome goal, so I feel like I can put this down and ignore it for a day or two and just hyperfixate on these socks and see if I can get one of these socks done, maybe even overnight tonight on my night shift and cast on the second sock. I am trying to decide if I should do the same color arrangement on this sock and on the second sock. So I have the color bunny up here, and then the heel I have is poppy, and then the toe I was gonna do bunny as well, just to kind of mirror it. And I was thinking maybe the second sock I'll swap. So I'll do the yellow, the poppy up here on the toe and on the cuff of the second sock, and then on the heel I'll do bunny. I just think it might be a fun way to kind of tie them together, be a little bit, not cookie cutter, a little bit interesting, but nothing super crazy. Like it'll still coordinate and look really good. So I might do that, and that way I use up a pretty equal amount of both of these contrast colors. So I might do that. I've done that on a couple pairs of socks semi-recently, so I'm thinking about it, but we'll see how I feel when I cast on the second sock. But let's try to power through a bunch more of this foot. If anyone has any tips on what to do with Chow-goo needles, so this is like my interchangeable set. For some reason, this cord is like all wrapped up on itself and keeps looping, and it will not like loosen. And I don't know, I've heard that some cords you can put in like warm water to kind of help them relax, and I don't know if that'll work on this because it's like a metal core. I don't know, let me know if you know what to do, because this is like not working great, because I'll pull my loop through and like this side is okay, but then this side is like all scraggly and like gets in the way, and sometimes it's like all the way over here, and it's annoying. So if you have any tips, let me know. All right, it is day 8 of sock week. So it runs from Sunday through the next Sunday. So today is our very last day, and we're definitely behind where we wanted to be, but I made some good progress yesterday. I was able to do about half the cuff while I was at work, and that was after finishing the first sock. So I got a lot of work done the night that I worked, and then yesterday evening, I was able to finish the cuff and get started on the main pattern. As you can see, I actually did switch which mini I'm using for which part of the sock. So they're gonna be mirrored like so. So I'm gonna use that pink mini for the heel this time, just to make it a little bit different and to use up both of the minis evenly. I don't have to weave in the rest of the ends on this sock because it's still a finished sock even if the ends aren't woven in. So I'm gonna leave this for later and do a couple ends left and maybe block it at the end of the day if I have time. But my goal, I would love to finish this sock. So I have 2 entries for sock week. Not a huge deal if I don't, but it would feel really good to finish an entire pair of socks so that I don't have this lingering whip to add to my whip pile, because I have a lot of whips going on right now. So I didn't necessarily want to add another whip, but we're about to go to church. So I'm gonna bring this with me, see how much work I get done at church, because I like to knit while, you know, people are speaking and teaching and blah, blah, blah. So we have a 2-hour church, first hour all together as a family. So I'll probably get less done because my daughter will want me to kind of play with her and keep her occupied a little bit. But then after that, the second hour is separated kids and adults. So hopefully I can really power through during the second hour of church. And then we have all day because it's not even 9 o'clock yet. So hopefully I can get a lot of knitting done. I don't know if I can finish, but I do know how many repeats I need to do now for different parts, so I don't have to keep like trying it on and measuring it and seeing if it'll work, because I know that this sock fits well. And I can just base my numbers off of this sock. Let's get working on this and see how much we can get done. Church today, and then regroup for after church. Maybe we'll watch a family movie or something and get a lot more work done. I think it'd be amazing if I could get through the leg of this sock while at church today. All right, little update. Day went south. I'm in my pajamas now. I left church early because I wasn't feeling well. I took a nap right after I got home. I have just been resting a lot today, and I'm finally starting to feel better. Also, like emotionally, I've been not my best because I'm not feeling my best physically. Having a hard time emotionally because today was supposed to be a day where I got to spend time with family, got a lot done, all the stuff. Anyway, I'm feeling better, and I have done a total of 12 repeats on the leg. I counted, and my first sock did 15, so I'm getting really close to the heel. At this point, it's like 2:30 in the afternoon. I don't think I'm going to finish this sock, but I'm still going to try and do my best, because at the very least, if I finish this by the end of the month and can include it in my monthly wrap up of what I knit and crocheted in the month, then I don't have this lingering whip that I have to worry about. So still gonna try and see if I can finish, but not sure if that's gonna happen. But we'll still work on it and see how much we can do. But since I am feeling better, I'm gonna get up and get moving, play with my daughter, maybe do some chores around the house. I'm not quite sure, but happy to be feeling better because it was a rough few hours there. And I'm gonna stay comfy for now. Here you can see my wonky needle cord, but I have finished the gusset and I put my daughter to bed. It is 8:45. Let's see how far I can get on this sock. It is 11:40 and I finished my socks. Yay! As you can see, I have not woven in my ends, although I did Kitchener on both of the toes. So I think that counts as being totally done. I did not think I could make it, but I timed how long it took me to do a full repeat on the foot, and I extrapolated and decided, yeah, I can make it. So I decided to go for it. So I'm going to take my pictures, submit these entries for sock week, and then tomorrow we will finish up this video, weave in our ends, and block these socks because they are done. All right, another sock week in the books, and I have my pair of socks blocking right now. They're still plenty wet, so I'm gonna set those aside to kind of air a little bit. And I just wanted to kind of close out this video and talk about my experience doing sock week. I've done sock week for the past few years. I even had my Shark Bite socks, both the knit and crochet versions, available as part of sock week's sponsored items during sock week a few years ago. So I've been involved in sock week for years now, and this was probably my hardest year yet. And I think that's just because I had a few bumps in my schedule this week, and I was trying really hard to finish a full pair of socks, and I didn't choose a vanilla pair this year, which was different for me. If you choose a vanilla pair of socks, it's much quicker to work through and just kind of mindlessly do stockinette stitch for for inches and inches and inches and to kind of knock it out that way. I also didn't do shorties, I did full length socks. And so those are all components that kind of contributed to my barely making it under the wire, but I was still able to finish my pair, which I'm really happy about. I did not want to have a lingering whip at the end of this week. And I had 2 entries for sock week. I have never won a prize, so I'm not expecting to win a prize, but it is really nice to participate in the community as a whole participating in sock week. And so it's fun to be able to finish socks and submit for prizes and just know that I accomplished something and to feel really happy about that. I think some things that helped me succeed at sock week is the fact that socks are really portable and small, so they're really easy to take on the go. I could work on it a little bit in the car. I could easily work on it at work, especially with my night shifts when my patients were sleeping, just kind of sitting at my desk and listening out for call lights and alarms and whatnot. It was easy to pick up and put down. And I've also knit over 100 pairs of socks in my lifetime as a knitter. And so even though this was a pattern sock, it was really easy to pick up and put down and to kind of infuse my own style of knitting socks into this pattern. I did not follow the pattern 100% exactly, but I was able to follow the general gist of it and then extrapolate the rest from how I like to knit my socks. And so once I got used to the stitch pattern, it really wasn't hard to pick up and put down and be able to read my knitting. Quick note on the yarn. So I have not measured this yet, but usually I use 30 to 40 grams for a full length sock, especially if I do heels, toes, and cuffs in a contrast color. So I've got quite a lot of this yarn left, but I love this colorway from Lovejoy Fibers. So cute. And just a reminder, this is called Waffle. Do I have the tag? I do, so I can show you the logo. They're local to me here in Utah. So I've seen them around at different like trunk shows and yarn stores and the Great Basin Fiber Arts Fair and things like that. And then the 2 minis that I handpicked to go along with this, Poppy is the yellow one and Bunny is the pink one. So I've still got plenty of these colors, so they'll go into my gnome tonal stash that I can pull for making gnomes or other like color work or things in the future. So those are all going into the appropriate scrap bins. And this pattern, I really like this pattern, and visually what it does, it really reminds me of like a waffle cone texture. And while this pattern is called the Season Socks by Summer Lee, I feel like the texture really suits the colors of this yarn as well as the overall theme of the sock week, which was ice cream social, I think is the exact wording. So I love being able to do like a pseudo waffle stitch type of design, though it felt like it worked up really slowly compared to like a vanilla sock because all these slip stitches just kind of like scrunched the height of my rounds over and over again. So even though typically I do like a 40 round leg after the cuff, this ended up being 60 rounds here to get a similar length that I normally get with 40 rounds of stockinette. So it definitely took me a lot longer, and because the texture is only on the top of the sock and not on the bottom with like the gusset and whatnot, you can see I've got some extra fabric on the bottom of the sock, which kind of compensates for how tight the top of the sock is. So when I wear these socks, I'm sure that the toe will also be kind of off kilter a little bit, leaning more up than centered. But when I try these socks on, they fit really well, even if it looks a little baggy, but it's all just because part of the sock is really tight and part is loose. And I did end up swapping my contrast colors. So my socks are more of fraternal twins than identical twins, which is such a fun way to just give them a little bit of flavor and personality while not doing anything super crazy with the colors, because I already had my colors picked out and I knew that I liked them all together. I could just kind of swap things around, and that leaves me with 2 minis that are approximately the same size left over because I didn't use one mini more than the other, because I was able to use them evenly. Super cute. Also love that these colors are very summery, though I do not want to wear hand knit socks right now because it is still too hot here in Utah. We've got a huge heat wave going on, so we're like upper 90 degrees all week long, and I'm not ready for it. I would say if you want to be able to make as many socks as possible, either finish a pair that you already have one sock completed for, so you're already familiar with the pattern and you'll get that satisfaction of finishing a pair of socks, Or you can also go the route of doing a lot of vanilla socks, doing shorties, things like that, so that you can really pound through a lot of socks. I think I saw someone made 5 total socks, which is amazing. And they weren't even all vanilla shorty socks. They also had legs and some of them had textures, and I love the variety. It's just so fun to see what people are making and how people stretch themselves. I had a soft goal to finish a full pair, and while yesterday I was starting off just barely after the cuff of my second sock was done, I still wanted to work through the second sock even if I wasn't going to finish. And I gave myself grace considering I wasn't feeling my best for the first part of the day, but I still took it around with me. I worked on it when I got a chance. I watched a movie with my family and got a lot of work done, and I just hammered away at it after bedtime for my daughter. Like I mentioned in a previous clip, I timed myself for how long it would take to finish one repeat. I counted out how many repeats I had left, and I figured I could make it work maybe. So I wanted to try to push myself and do that. So I turned on some YouTube and I just hunkered away, and I'm really happy that I was able to finish and that these socks are totally done and that I can work on some other projects that have fallen by the wayside this past week as I've been focusing on my socks. Thank you so much for joining me on this little vlog as I shared with you my process of knitting my Sock Week socks this week and just sharing a little bit about my knitting process as I worked through these socks. Let me know down below if you participated in Sock Week, what you were able to make, if you met your goals, or if you have other socks that you're hoping to finish really soon as the month is winding down now that Sock Week is done. Thank you again so much for being here and watching this video. And until next time, happy making. Bye!